Noah Diamond, home again, the Marx Brothers in New York City. Jim from Vaudevisuals here with Noah Diamond to talk about this amazing, wonderful upcoming event, which is going to be streaming online, obviously, for various obvious reasons these days. So tell us about the Marx Brothers and Home Again.
Thank you, Jim. Good to see you as always. Yes, there is a State University of New York campus up in the town of Freedonia, New York. And as Marx Brothers fans and film buffs will know, Freedonia with two E's is also the name of the mythical kingdom in the Marx Brothers movie Duck Soup. Groucho plays Rufus T. Firefly, the leader of Freedonia. So, in Freedonia, New York, proud of their association with this masterpiece, they have been holding, since 1987, an annual Marx Brothers festival on the SUNY Freedonia campus. And it is called Freedonia Marxonia. And it's a terrific festival. They always have special guests and live events and film screenings and activities. And the Daniel A. Reed Library on the SUNY Freedonia campus is always sort of the epicenter of the festival, and it's always lavishly decorated with Marx Brothers materials. It becomes a kind of Marx Brothers museum, and it's a terrific event. I was very happy to be there, guest speaker, in 2017. So this year, I was pleased again to be asked back to perform and speak there. But of course, as with virtually all in-person events in the year 2020, Freedonia Marxonia is going to be an online event instead. So Cindy Yoakum, she's a reference librarian at the Reed Library in Freedonia, and she is the coordinator of the Freedonia Marxonia Festival. She asked if, in lieu of the in-person gathering, if I could put together a streaming presentation that would fit this year's theme, which was the Marx Brothers and New York City. And that would be, it's always nice to go to Freedonia and perform at the Opera House there. So I missed that. But on the other hand, a nice thing about a live streaming event is that it's available to everybody.
Everybody can see it, and
yeah, you don't have to go to Freedonia to see it.
Which is amazing. We'll get a lot more people interested in the Marx Brothers who weren't able to make it up there, which is quite far.
Yeah, it is. It's way up there. It's almost in Canada. I joke about, I live here in Washington Heights and in Upper Manhattan, and I often joke that it's convenient to Midtown Toronto. But that's not even a joke up in Freedonia. But it's a beautiful town. I really love it there, and the Freedonia Marxonia Festival and all the love and care that Cindy and her team put into it it's really quite something special. And so I'm happy to, still be involved in it somehow. And maybe this streaming version will raise interest and more Marx Brothers fans making the pilgrimage in years to come.
I'm sure it will. And you have some special features happening this year with the online version, right?
Yeah, it's become something interesting. Hopefully it would have been interesting anyway. But yes, it has evolved quite a bit. I tend to call these things illustrated lectures because it's a nice, quaint term. It makes me feel like I'm touring with a diorama in the late 19th century. But what these illustrated lectures tend to actually be is a very elaborate cinematic slideshow presentation with audio and video and animation and everything else that sort of accompanies a live monologue that I perform in person. And my previous illustrated lecture, The Marx Brothers on Broadway, covering just their years on Broadway, that's what I did in 2017 at Freedonia Marxonia. And also the show 400 Years in Manhattan that my collaborator and wife, Amanda Sisk, and I produced last year at the United Solo Festival, also the subject of my last Vaudevisuals interview.
That's right.
That, too, is in a way a more theatrical, more sophisticated version of what I call an illustrated lecture. It's kind of a documentary that is narrated live.
Nice.
So since this one is streaming, there's even more room to play with the format. It is largely a live monologue that I'll be delivering on October 2nd, which happens to be Groucho's 130th birthday. So the monologue will be delivered live just from this desk right here. But supplementing it, there's lots of other material. There's pre-filmed and edited sequences, some of which have me out in the city giving a kind of virtual tour of locations that are important in the Marx Brothers story. Some of the segments are sort of documentary-like pieces that tell various parts of the story, either of the Marx Brothers' years in New York or the influence that New York City had on their work, even after they moved out to Hollywood. So there's a great deal in it, and there's also a lot of collaborators involved. Although the live part of it will be all me, lots of the pre-filmed segments have great work in them by other Marx Brothers fans, by notable Marxian writers and performers, a couple of special guests who I'm going to keep as a surprise and not give away now. But if you love the Marx Brothers, you will see some beloved and familiar faces. And that's been wonderful too, because we're all so isolated these days in this lockdown, quarantine, pandemic chapter that we're all living through. So whatever you can do to reach out to other people and, have some feeling of the collaborative nature of theater is so welcome. So the documents especially are full of voiceovers that have been provided by some great performers and guests and friends. There's also some visual artwork in it that has been contributed by artists who I know or know of who are interested in the Marx Brothers, and even a musical performance that, again, I don't want to give away too much, but there are some really special guest appearances in it. And hopefully it all adds up to a celebration of the Marx Brothers and the city. So just the idea of getting together to do something creative, which is one of the things we all miss these days.
And fun, and certainly very much fun. Now, you have...
I hope so, yeah. Should have a few laughs.
You have a particular affinity for one of the Marx Brothers, which is Groucho, and you have performed his likeness in many situations, including your bringing back the wonderful musical "I'll Say She Is" a few years ago, which was wonderful. Can you tell us about how you became so fond of this young man, Groucho Marx?
Yeah, that is a good question. My initial attraction was to the Marx Brothers as a team. Even before I had ever seen their movies or had ever seen any movies, when I was a little kid, I used to love to go through the books on my parents' bookshelves. Even before I could really read, I knew they had the good books, big art books and history books and stuff that was fascinating to a little kid. And one of the books on their shelves when I was little just happened to be Groucho, Harpo, Chico, and Sometimes Zeppo, written by Joe Adamson, still to my mind the masterpiece among Marx Brothers books. And it was just the pictures that appealed to me. Just looking at these guys, I was, a creative kid. I was interested in the Muppets and Dr. Seuss and Maurice Sendak, eventually Mad Magazine and other things. And I could just tell from looking at them, the Marx Brothers seemed to fit right into that world. And then as time went by and it got a little easier to track down old movies and see them, I got to know the Marx Brothers' work. And although I love all four of the Marx Brothers, even all five, let's go that far. I think it was clear to me right away that Groucho was kind of my guy. I identified with him. I enjoyed and still obviously enjoy putting on his persona, talking like him and behaving like him. And I guess that's the part of the Marx Brothers that where I've gotten to flex the muscles as a performer a little bit. That's the role for me in the Marx Brothers. And that has become a kind of lifelong affinity. You get to the point you read everything someone has written, you've heard every recorded word that they've spoken, and they get in you in a very significant way. And when I'm playing Groucho on stage, as you say, the most extended and substantial Groucho performance for me was in I'll Say She Is, revival of their first Broadway show. It's become so comfortable. It's sort of second nature. And I think particularly with Groucho, who was, the pleasure of watching him perform was as much about watching his mind work. It was as much about just watching this dazzling intellect perform as it was about any of the usual tools of a performer. The sound of his voice and the way he moved and the expression on his face and his very distinctive costume and makeup. And I think with the production of I'll Say She Is in 2016, at some point I realized I can think like him now, not as well, not as funny, not as witty, never. Nobody will ever get to that level. But in my more modest way, I realized I think part of the reason this is working is because I am at least behaving as though I am thinking like Groucho, and that's the key.
That's wonderful. So Home Again, the Marx Brothers in New York City, October 2nd, 7 p.m.
7 p.m., October 2nd. Yes, it'll be live streaming on YouTube. And if you visit my website, noahdiamond.com, the link will be either posted or embedded there in advance of the show. So noahdiamond.com is the place. Or if you follow me on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or any of those wonderful places, I won't be shy about sharing access there too. It's free. It's free of charge to stream. It's all part of the Freedonia Marxonia program. And yeah, please tune in. It'll be available after the fact too. If you miss it at 7 on October 2nd, that won't be your last chance to watch it. But there is something extra special about seeing it live.
Live performance. Nothing beats live performance, even if it's online.
It's really true, isn't it? I've noticed that too. Like when I'm watching a live streaming performance and it really is live, it does have a little extra excitement.
It does.
And there are some things in this presentation that are sort of calibrated to appeal and be particularly relevant to the
Right. Well, thank you, Noah. Thank you so much. Appreciate it very much. We look forward to seeing the show. Have a good day. Bye-bye.